The night I realized my own family had betrayed me, the house felt smaller than it ever had before, like the walls were leaning in, listening, waiting to see what I would do next. I was standing at the top of the stairs, barefoot on cold marble, holding my phone so tightly my fingers hurt. On the screen was a message I was never meant to see. It wasn't angry. It wasn't dramatic. It was practical, cold, calculated, and it ended with the words, "She won't find out. She never does."
They were talking about me.
For a moment, I couldn't breathe. My heart didn't race. It stopped. Everything I thought I knew about loyalty, blood, and love collapsed into a single sharp truth. The people who smiled at me every day had already decided I was expendable. I didn't scream. I didn't cry. I stood there in the dark and listened to the sound of my own future rewriting itself. I grew up believing family was unbreakable. We weren't rich, but we were comfortable. We weren't perfect, but we were close, or so I thought. Sunday dinners, birthdays celebrated together, jokes that only made sense to us. I was the youngest, the responsible one, the one everyone trusted. If something needed fixing, I fixed it. If someone needed help, I showed up. I thought love worked like a savings account. The more you put in, the more secure you were. I was wrong. It started with my father's illness. He had always been the center of our family, the quiet authority we all orbited around. When he got sick, everything shifted. Hospital visits replaced family gatherings. Whispers replaced laughter. And money. Money suddenly became the unspoken topic that hovered over every conversation. I took time off work to help. I managed appointments, paid bills, handled paperwork. My siblings thanked me constantly, told me how lucky they were to have me. My mother hugged me longer than usual, said she didn't know what she'd do without me. I believed them. That was my first mistake. After my father passed, grief wrapped itself around us like fog. We moved through days half awake, half broken. And in that fog, decisions were made. Documents were signed. Promises were spoken softly, then quietly forgotten. The will was simple, or so they said. Everything would be divided fairly. No arguments. No secrets. "We're family," my brother told me, hand on my shoulder. "We'll do this right." I nodded, trusting him the way you trust gravity. Weeks later, things began to feel off. Conversations stopped when I entered the room. My calls went unanswered. Meetings about logistics happened without me. When I asked questions, I was met with smiles that didn't reach anyone's eyes. "You worry too much," my sister said. "Let us handle it." I wanted to believe her. I really did. The message I saw that night shattered the last illusion I had left. It wasn't meant for me, but fate, or maybe carelessness, put it in my hands. They had created a separate agreement. Assets shifted. Accounts moved. Decisions finalized. And my name was barely there at all. I was the daughter who did the work, the sister who sacrificed time, money, sleep, and I was the one they decided to cut out. I scrolled through the messages slowly, each word carving something permanent into me. They weren't just excluding me. They were mocking me, laughing about how naive I was, how I would understand eventually, how family loyalty could be managed. I sat on my bed until dawn, staring at the wall, replaying every memory with new eyes. Every compliment felt like a setup. Every hug felt rehearsed. I realized something terrifying and empowering at the same time. The person they thought I was no longer existed. By morning, I had made a decision. I didn't confront them. Not then. I smiled at breakfast. I made tea for my mother. I asked my brother about his work. I listened. I observed. I learned. If they thought I was blind, I would let them believe it. Over the next few weeks, I became invisible in the most dangerous way. I stopped arguing. I stopped questioning. I became agreeable, helpful, quiet. And while they relaxed, I gathered everything. Documents, emails, records, dates, names. I remembered every conversation, every promise made in front of witnesses, every legal detail they assumed I wouldn't understand. They underestimated me because I had always been kind. They forgot that kindness is not weakness. Late at night, I read. I researched laws, loopholes, procedures. I spoke to people who didn't know my family, who only knew facts. I asked questions without emotion. I built a clear picture of what had been done and how it could be undone. And then I waited. The day I finally spoke up, it wasn't in anger. It was calm, controlled, almost gentle. We were all sitting in the living room, the same room where we once laughed together. My mother was knitting. My siblings were discussing plans for a property I apparently had no claim to. "I need to ask something," I said. They froze just for a second, enough for me to notice. I asked simple questions, innocent ones, about signatures, about dates, about why certain accounts existed. They answered easily at first, confidently, and then I asked one question too many. The room shifted, faces tightened, voices changed. My brother tried to interrupt. My sister laughed nervously. My mother looked confused. That's when I placed the documents on the table. Not copies, originals. Silence swallowed the room. I watched realization spread across their faces like ink in water. They knew. They knew exactly what this meant. I hadn't just caught them. I had outplayed them. "You went behind my back," I said softly. "You broke the agreement. And you assumed I wouldn't notice." My brother stood up, angry now. Defensive. "You're overreacting." "No," I replied. "I'm correcting." What followed wasn't loud. It wasn't dramatic. It was devastating in a quieter way. Legal notices. Formal letters. Meetings where their words no longer mattered. Only proof did. Their confidence crumbled piece by piece as the truth stepped into the light. They tried everything. Apologies. Excuses. Guilt. My mother cried and asked how I could do this to them. I looked at her and felt something strange. Peace. "You did this to me first," I said. I just refused to stay silent. In the end, I didn't just get what was taken from me. I got more. Not in money alone, but in clarity. Their carefully built image shattered. Relationships they valued were strained. Reputations quietly damaged. And the family unity they thought was unbreakable collapsed under the weight of their own choices. I didn't celebrate. I didn't gloat. I simply walked away. Today, my life is quieter, smaller in some ways, but it's honest. I no longer chase approval from people who see love as a transaction. I don't confuse shared blood with shared values. My family betrayed me, and I didn't destroy them in return. I let the truth do it for me. And that, I've learned, is the kind of regret that lasts forever.